Rachel, we're here.
We are. It's happening. Took a little
Jessica
bit.
Kleinschmidt here with Rachel Luba, and we have a podcast. It's happening.
Cheers. Cheers to that.
We're in quarantine along with the rest of the world.
We are trying to survive without sports.
Yeah, and it's been interesting, but I think that's what's cool. That's why we're here, right? I feel like you and I have such a unique platform that we're able to talk about all the things, and we want to have our viewers on this fun journey with us by participating in a game. And we are very much drinking wine. Rachel, why don't you tell the beautiful people what our wine word of the day is?
Our wine word of the day is players. We are starting off strong here. So what that means is every time one of us says the word players in our conversation, that we have to drink. So we're going to be hammered within what? 5 minutes?
I'm going to say 7 minutes because we're ladies.
Yes.
We're not mature. We're classy ladies, Rachel.
Yeah, you're giving me way too much credit here, but.
And I feel like the reason why we wanted to do that is because we want you guys to participate with us and make sure, I hope you guys are following both of us on Twitter. I'm very active on Twitter, as you know. Rachel's more active on Instagram because she's like the better looking one, which is fine. But
Jess is the funnier one. So her platform is Twitter. So we complement each other perfectly.
Very much so.
I have no personality and Jess has all the personality.
And then Rachel has everything else. So it's perfect. But you know what? That's the first thing I wanted to get into. So you messaged me the other day. You were pretty heated. And I feel like I'm usually the target of some like bullshit as far as mentions go and all these other things. But the combination of YouTube comments, and you're a very beautiful woman. You do post things that I will not post, not just because I wouldn't, but I don't have a body like you. For me, if I were to wear things, it would look like a cheeseburger stuffed into a keyhole. But you got some really crappy comments, and you immediately said, let's talk about this on the podcast. So I'm curious, what did this person say, and what were your reactions to it?
So first of all, let me just preface this by saying when I posted that, it was not related at all to my job as a baseball agent. I didn't talk about it in my caption. It was just a picture of me from hiking in the woods, wearing a leotard basically, and boots. And growing up, I was a gymnast my entire life for like 20 years. So I literally am used to being in a leotard. I remember I would go into the grocery store after practice at like 10:30 at night, and I would be wearing a leotard and like Crocs, which is absurd now that I think about it, but I was so comfortable wearing that. Yeah. And I grew up in that. So anyways, I posted this picture. I figured like, it's risky. It's risque, I guess. But I wanted to make a point. Like, I want my Instagram to be able to show off my body. I work hard. I work out. I've been an athlete my whole life. Like, I want to be able to, if I'm proud of my body, what's wrong with being proud of your body, right?
Amen, sister. Amen.
So I posted it, and some burner account comments on it. Honestly, it was probably like another agent who has a burner account, I'm guessing. But he was like, basically said something to the effect of, do you think posting things like this will help give you any credibility as an agent? And when I saw the comment, it pissed me off because like my whole issue, and I guess I knew this was going to come up. I wasn't sure if someone was going to voice it or not, but they did, is that when I post something and it's completely unrelated to my job, why, when I post it, immediately a guy's first thought is, oh, and maybe a girl too, I don't know, is, this, like, they're going to start questioning my ability and my intelligence as a professional and being able to do my job because of how I dressed in something completely unrelated. Now, I still don't think they should do it regardless, but I guess if I walked into a meeting and a negotiation and I was wearing that, maybe, okay, I get where you would, have some cause for concern, or you would question it. But the fact that anything a female does, I feel like, that shows her femininity and her body or any of that outside of her job, immediately people question her ability to do her job. Whereas like if an agent, I know a male agent wearing a bathing suit on the beach and he might be shredded with abs,
Right.
showing it off, who's going to comment on that and be like,
Nobody
oh,
would.
right, like look at him showing off his body. I bet you know, like, is that going to help him earn credibility as an agent? Like nobody would. But it's because I'm a female that what I do outside, you know, how I dress or whatever, and again, and not related to my job at all, is being my ability to do my job is being questioned.
And that's what's kind of cool about the situation. Not the coolness, but I think it paints a good picture of, we've talked about this before. We had an IG live last week, and it was about no guy that I've ever worked with has to think, how are they going to dress when they're going to work? And
exactly.
For me, if I'm just going to work and I'm working on the desk, I'm wearing yoga pants, sweatshirt, I'm good. But I like to dress cute if I have to go on TV or be in the locker room. Like, you want to make sure that you're put together. And I love dressing cute. If that sometimes looks a little sexy, that's not my intention. It's just, I feel confident. And when I'm at my best, I'm probably looking good too. And so I don't feel like men have to deal with that. This is not an anti-men podcast.
No. But they don't have to deal with it.
They do not.
It's like, it's something we have to think about. Now, like, granted, when I posted that picture, I guess I was trying to elicit maybe it's like some sort of response because I want to speak out about that, because I know it's something that women have to deal with.
Yeah.
But like, it's something that we always, every day. I mean, when I go to winter meetings for baseball or anything I do professionally, I always have to think like, how do I have to make sure that what I'm wearing is, you know, obviously professional, but then is this going to come across as, you know, really, you know, like scandalous, or I don't want it to be too sexy, because again, I'm walking into a room with all men. So right. It's like the fact that I have to think about that, and is this going to be perceived a certain way when, again, It might not be my intention at all, but it's like initially, I mean, when I first started out, I was scared to even wear like a professional like pantsuit with a skirt.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because that's that's too sexy or whatever. It's not, you know, like masculine enough. And if I put on makeup, I was afraid like, I'm
the same way. And you know me, I love me some makeup, girl. I haven't been able to get my eyelashes done, do the best I can. These are fake, but like extra fake, you know, I like go and get them done.
But you're killing it.
I'm trying to deal with it, and that's okay. And it was just unique because, you know, we did have a couple of women who do work in the sports world that were watching our IG live, and they're like, they understand that because we have to take the extra step. Like, oh, is this lipstick too much? Is it not? Is it what have you, and all that. So it's kind of interesting from that. And, you know, I know you got a YouTube comment, which was more, that was pretty vulgar. And
oh my God, we're going to
also very go into the kitchen and make a sandwich kind of fucking comment, which are stupid. Those are like trolls trying to get your attention.
So I think a segment that we're gonna start doing on this podcast is we're gonna go through and read either YouTube comments or DMs, and we're gonna give everybody a chance to see the kind of shit that we deal with and that people will say.
And I feel like YouTube is the worst because YouTube is more popular than pretty much most of like the digital content, if you will, like that kind of platform. And it's so available, and that's what the trolls want, is a reaction. So they're going to see it and they're going to get their little thumbs up or thumbs down type of deal. But I can tell you what, as many years as I've been, you know, in the public eye, YouTube comments have been far the worst. And I had my own YouTube show at MLB.com, Cut 4, and they were awful. And y'all see this shit that I get on Twitter, but YouTube wasn't as bad. So we can at least show them that. But it's true. They want the reaction. I was thinking about that earlier when I was showering. I'm like, oh my gosh, YouTube guys love that attention. Yeah. But yeah, I have a bunch of DMs saved.
Oh yeah. I'm starting to record or screenshot all of my absurd comments and DMs, and we're gonna make that a consistent theme. And I think in our podcast where we'll give you guys a little glimpse of just a couple little gems of the week.
And then you can participate in too, because I know some of them are going to like be ridiculous just to get on the pod, but
yeah,
also you kind of get that. A question I had for you, just because I don't know that many women that I can be like, hey, what do you geek out with baseball? And you easily earlier, you gave me your answer and I was like, okay, cool. Like we're both nerds in this aspect. So I want to know what you geek out about when it comes to just MLB, the game of baseball, all of it.
So for me, it's salary arbitration. That is, oh man, when you start to get around like the end of September and I can start looking at the stats and figuring out in the market for salary arb players, like where to go and which players are going to like affect other players significantly and just the game of that. And then where do I think teams are going to file their numbers? Like there's the whole game theory that goes behind that whole process. I geek out with that. I get so excited. I get excited when as not that I want a player to have kind of because a lot of times if you have an interesting like platform season, which is the season prior to to that year, it sometimes something maybe didn't go right or you trended down or whatever it is, but it's like, it's an outlier.
Yeah.
But I get kind of excited when I see cases like that because I'm like, oh, this is going to be really interesting on how to argue this and how are we going to create this argument? Even this year right now with the quarantine, right? How are we going to figure out how to compare these players if we have a partial season to the past players? Because that's how we have to determine their salary. So like for me, that's what I get most excited about, and just creating, some sort of argument with stats to get whatever salary I want.
Right. And one of my favorite baseball stories I ever heard was actually about Tim Lincecum, and Trevor Bauer is your client. We actually have him as a guest on our pod, and I'm really excited about that.
We're going to bring him on in a little.
Yeah, we're going to bring him on in a little. Tim Lincecum, you want to talk about like dropping, I don't even know what the term is, but he walked in like
to, oh my God, it's the best.
Toward the end of his career, walks into a room of lawyers, and he doesn't say shit. He doesn't say anything. He walks in, brings his Cy Youngs, and I think maybe
he has two Cy Youngs.
He just carries him in, drops him in. Might as well have been like his appendage just dropping out. Doesn't say shit. Walks back out. Homeboy, you best believe, won his arbitration case.
Well, they settled that one. So they said because though I think he had the balls to walk in with his. He's going there into this room and he has to argue that his value is this number, and the team's going to say no, you weren't that good. You're not worth that. You only get paid this. What do you do when the player walks in with 2 Cy Young trophies and just puts them down? How many other players have done that? And then now you have a panel that's going to sit there and have to listen to the team, tell this player, you're not that good compared to past guys. You should get this salary when his 2 Cy Youngs are sitting right there. So they settled. They're like, all right.
Give him whatever he wants at that point. And it was really cool because the thing that I like about Tim Lincecum, and Lindsay Adler wrote about, she's from The Athletic. He's one of the players that, actually, I totally did that on purpose. Players. I said players.
Drink.
Cheers. Shit. And he's one of the guys we can actually relate to just on a human level. And he was my first big league interview. He was trying to, make his comeback when I was covering the Reno Aces as much as I did. And you want to talk about one of the coolest guys you can just walk up to, ask anything, signed every autograph from then on. And then, of course, now I'm covering NBC Sports in the Bay Area. You even think Tim Lincecum, and people are like, oh my God, let's talk about that. So he's just a guy, like the coolest dude ever.
So fun fact, the guest that we're about to have on, Trevor Bauer, his idol and like role model when he was in college, and the pitcher that he tried to model himself after was Tim Lincecum. He was, his goal, and when you can ask him about that, was he wanted to be just like Tim Lincecum. Mm-hmm. And I think that's,
I have to ask him about that. That's really cool. I feel like Trevor Bauer is the new Tim Lincecum, a little more outspoken, but definitely Tim Lincecum-ish.
He is. Yes, I would say much more outspoken, and he's definitely I think a lot of people had mixed feelings at first, pretty much about everything he does, but especially with media stuff and how outspoken he was. But I think it's really interesting to see in the last even 6 months how many people are kind of grateful for what he's doing, with giving players a voice, because I think that's something that I don't think players really have ever had,
Well, and even coming from a media perspective, it was always awkward. And I've talked to you about this. Like, I really feel bad for the guys most of the time. Just like for me, I love media. I love social media. I think digital is the new thing. When I first got in the industry, everything was like, oh, she wants to be on TV. Like, that's cool. Sure. But like, social media was so cool to me because there's so many different ways you can do it. You could do the television route, you could do video, but I loved writing and I loved reporting. And my biggest worry was I wasn't doing the guys a good justice, like making sure the message was getting to them correctly. And with him, the thing that I liked about him, I like Trevor as a pitcher, but I love him as a media guy. And I think that's because him and I love to like poke at things, like try to like push people up the next level, which is, I've always been kind of the black sheep of not just my family or my friends, but of the baseball media world. And he's doing it. I'm like, interesting.
He's that of players.
Exactly. And he's not scared to say, oh shit, yeah, you're right, cheers. And so that's what's interesting with that. And like I said, like, and I think he's really brilliant in that. And you see all the guys that came out to when he wanted to talk about media and digital and stuff like that, it's people are paying attention. And I feel like, and he went off, not really go off, but he quote tweeted MLB recently, and I was like, okay.
So that's what we need we're going to have to talk to him about that, because I think that was an interesting take from him.
I know we teased him up, and I'm actually really excited. So we do have Trevor Bauer here. So he's going to join the call.
All right, everybody. So we have Trevor Bauer here, the Cincinnati Reds, an all-star pitcher, and my client, actually. Former client?
Former all-star pitcher.
You're always an all-star, Trevor.
I was gonna say,
like those girls who wear like the bride robes, and she's like, I'm always a bride. It's like, calm the fuck down. Like, you were a bride once. Relax.
That's how I feel about being an all-star.
There it is.
Yeah. Well, you're always going to be my client.
Always you're gonna be. So we're excited that you're here because for a multitude of reasons. But I didn't know that Tim Lincecum was your boy. I had no idea.
I don't know that he's my boy. I wouldn't consider us boys, but when I was growing up, I watched him a ton. So I have like just archives of Tim Lincecum video in my head that I can just replay at any time.
But you wanted to be a pitcher like him, right?
Yeah, basically. I wanted to be exactly like Tim Lincecum.
When he pitched, like, what about him, like, were you like, I wish I could do that?
Oh, because I was undersized relative to the vast majority of pitchers. I was like 6 feet tall. Most pitchers are pretty tall. I was a little bit shorter than most, and I was kind of skinny. Rachel knew me in college. She can attest to that.
I did. He actually had abs back then, I think. He claims.
Yeah, I did for a hot second because I was only 165 pounds. So just didn't carry any extra fat. But yeah, he was small and skinny, but he threw super hard and struck everybody out. The first like 3 or 4 years of Tim Lincecum were the most electric thing that anyone had ever seen. So
did you beat his college strikeout record, or you were trying?
So I got
that was
him.
The goal.
Yeah, that was the goal, to get his career record. I got his single season record by 1, which I think it actually is a single season Pac-12 record.
Okay.
Pac-10 at the time, but it's not overall NCAA single season record. But I came up, I think, 31 short of his overall career strikeouts in college. My freshman year I only had 92, so I really let myself down there.
Yeah, that's embarrassing, Trevor. Good God. So we're talking about Tim Lincecum, and the reason why I love, he's my first big league interview I've ever done, and he was amazing.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, he was. Actually, when he was in Reno, when I was covering the Reno Aces, which is a full circle for this moment. But I thought that was cool. And I want to kind of say you in a way become the Tim Lincecum of nowadays, because I feel Tim is the player we can all relate to. And I feel like you're the same way, and you're very outspoken. You're talking about, how important media is to baseball. So I'm curious why you feel it's not only important to inform people about what's going on with the quarantine, but just to be a spokesperson for MLB in a way.
Yeah, I try to, first and foremost, I try to be authentic to myself, say what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling, but I try to make my opinions well thought out so I can present not an argument per se, but just a viewpoint that is kind of well-rounded. And so as long as I view what I'm doing as accomplishing both of those tasks, I have no problem speaking out. And it just so happens that people tend to listen, I guess, at some point. But I don't do it necessarily to try to be everyone's favorite or to try to be a leader per se or anything like that. I just, this is how I feel, and I feel like I should be able to express myself, so I do. And then
you kind
whatever
of
else happens after that happens.
You kind of have become, I would say, a leader for a lot of players too, that I think don't feel that they are in a position where they can voice their opinion yet.
I think that's true. I think the culture of baseball has kind of made it that way. Every time you go to say something, you're slapped on the wrist by a veteran guy or by the media director or by,
just the media,
the reporters, or
yeah.
In general. Yeah. And so you learn very quickly when you come up to the big leagues, don't have a personality. And really it starts in, the second you step into pro ball. You're taught how to say something to the reporter without saying anything of substance at all. And I think that has to change for baseball to flourish and connect with the younger generation of fans. But most players can't do that, because if they do create problems, they're scared that they'll get sent back down, or they won't get called up, or they may get, DFA'd, or they, whatever it is. And then by the time that players get to a position in the league where they have some standing on the field and they're not as worried about their jobs, the personality has been beat out of them for so long that they just like, okay, I don't need to deal with the media, and I'll just go live my life and do my own thing. And then a lot of the biggest personalities in the game that I see on a day-to-day basis in the clubhouse, no one has any clue that they're the way they are.
So I'm curious, because we have, Trevor, you've kind of created your own more or less media company, and we have Jess here, who is one of the media. And is there a way for both to kind of exist and for players to feel like they can open up to media? But, obviously at the same time, I think what what you're doing with Momentum is fantastic. Giving players just a direct.
Yeah, I was gonna share a story about my first interview with Tim Lincecum, but since Jess is part of the media, I can't share that.
It's that kind of story. Damn it.
Yeah.
No, I get it. You have to say no more. I automatically know it's a damn good story. So that's fine.
It's totally pretty funny. Not how I thought my first meeting with Tim Lincecum would go, but anyway, yeah, I think there's a way that that they can coexist, but the problem is the incentives. And so the incentives for media is to get viewers, to get readers, to get eyeballs on the content, and to then make money for that media platform. The incentive for players is to then not speak to that media platform, because they're going to get misquoted, or they're going to have things taken out of context. They're going to have the juiciest part of their interview be the only thing that's played over and over and over. And then Stephen A. Smith is going to rant on why, the player is stupid, or, the local media is going to write an article about why the player is the worst person or the best person, or whatever they want the player to be. Right. And so the traditional media has held the keys to player branding, and players then don't trust. Oh, am I saying a lot of drinking words?
How long do we get before you think? Oh my God. This is a lot.
Trevor Bauer is going to get us wasted.
Oh my God. I think I need another bottle coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, continue, please.
Yeah.
We're good over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the incentives aren't aligned. The media is interested in getting views, and the players are interested in just having their full statement out there, or not.
Yeah.
The players haven't been taught how to brand themselves in the first place, and so they don't have an objective when they're talking to the media. They view it as an annoyance. So as soon as you merge those incentives, and you have a media company that's interested in a juicy soundbite, that can stay the same. But if players sit there and say, okay, I can give a juicy soundbite about something that I'm interested in that's brand positive, then you can kind of merge the two.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to do with Momentum is give an outlet for people to talk authentically and to share the things that they're actually interested in, and do it in a way that fans know to come to that media platform for that authenticity, instead of just sensationalism. And I think that's really where it needs to go.
I agree. I mean, I'm constantly getting in trouble for what I post on social media, if it makes you feel any better. Constantly.
But is there a way?
Yeah, trying.
Is there a way for media members like Jess but I think Jess has done a good job at this. I'm pretty sure a lot of guys trust you. And I know, Trevor, you have a couple media members that you trust and you're willing to talk to and open up to. But how do you create that relationship? Or, I mean, do you go into it thinking, or, giving them the benefit of the doubt, Trevor? And then if they screw you, that's it? Or,
I tend to, on an individual basis, I tend to give media members the benefit of the doubt first. But I don't trust the media as a whole. So I'm very guarded in what I will say. I'll say way more in a Momentum video because I know I have final approval of it. So nothing will actually get posted unless I have approval of it. I won't speak authentically or unguardedly in front of a general media member that I don't have a history with. So it takes a while to build up that trust. I think the longer form content and not clipping out certain quotes for an article or for a 20-second social media cut or something, but giving players the chance to speak and explain their viewpoints, the longer form stuff, then I think that's an easy way to get players to trust you, because it's it's just them talking. You're not trying to ask gotcha questions. And so if they say something that is taken wrong, it's like, well, that is what you said, so you can't be mad at the media. Like, you said it.
Yeah.
And then also just having the players back too. So, I've had a couple media members come to me after interviews and be like, hey man, you said like these couple things and those would be really juicy comments and my editor is going to want to put those in. Are you okay with those going in there? Because if you're not, I'll just take them out. I'll say, no, we won't put it in there. I appreciate the relationship that we have. I appreciate you giving me honest interaction. I want to protect that. So are you okay with putting that in there? And then I at least have the choice of saying yes or no.
Right.
But just those steps, showing the player that you're not trying to get them, you're trying to work hand in hand. And then just, it doesn't really fall on the media, but just the education of teaching players how media can be useful and how you can utilize that resource to elevate what you're trying to do. And I think this is something that agencies can do a much better job of, something that Rachel's done a really good job of with me. I used to be on social media. I was just myself. I didn't really care about anything. I was just joking around and things would get taken out of context or they wouldn't understand my sense of humor, but I just didn't care about it. I'm like, well, if you don't get it, you don't get it. And then, Rachel's done a really good job of explaining, like, yeah, that's fine. You can be authentic, but have a purpose of what you're doing and have a reason for what you're saying. Try to go somewhere. Don't just be floating in the wind.
That was the biggest thing that we kind of talked about too, was how everything you do, I mean, you have this mechanical engineer mindset, the way you train, the way you eat, the way you sleep, everything, there's a purpose for why you do it. And then Twitter was the one place that it was just like you talked out of your ass. Like there was no thought or no purpose for it. And I was like, why? I mean, it's not on brand with you. you would think that you would think things through more and have a reason for saying things. And you can be like that if you're just Joe Schmo and you have no purpose in life, really.
That sucks. That like sucks.
Yeah.
Like I get in, like I just sometimes just want to tweet the weirdest shit just because I have a weird mind. And
I feel like you do kind of, though.
I know,
still.
but imagine that times
You
10.
walk you walk
Imagine
the fine
that
line.
times 10. Like I'm literally, I get in trouble constantly just because like it's just, I don't know. It's like, oh, you have to be careful because you're a member of the public, and I'm like, I'm literally not. Like all I do is write about like it's not. I don't feel like I'm anything. But I hate that I have to hold myself back.
Yeah.
From being myself 100%.
So two things on that. One, I don't feel like I'm anybody special either. I'm just a guy, and I use Twitter like everybody else and Instagram like everybody else, and I think just like everybody else in certain ways, you know. And so I just never viewed it as, oh, I should have to change how I interact and be different than how these other people interact because of my job. That didn't seem to make sense to me.
But also because you have this plot, like, so what would always happen is you would respond. I mean, you would get, hundreds and sometimes thousands of just like hate tweets, right? You know, especially after a bad start or something, and you would just respond to some of them and you would outwit them. And because it was kind of, sometimes you were just mad, like, why would you say something like that? And then sometimes you would just like outwit them or make them look stupid. But you were always the bad guy because you have this massive platform. And what happens is nobody sees the hundreds or thousands of tweets that are really mean that you're getting. Nobody sees them because these people that are tweeting them have like 6 followers or sometimes none. And they just have like an egg for their profile picture. But when you respond to them and make them look dumb, you just made them look dumb on a platform with hundreds of thousands of followers. And you just put them on blast to the world. So now you're the bad guy.
Yeah, sometimes stupid people need to know that they're stupid.
I'm with you.
100% agree.
But this is my other point on this, is that I didn't have a purpose for what I was doing, right? There was no end goal. And so that engineering mindset of mine is know where you're at and know where you're wanting to go, and then you can develop a process to get there. But if I didn't have an end goal of where I was trying to go or an idea of what I was trying to accomplish, then there's no direction, there's no brand, there's no anything. It's just, oh, this is funny today, but maybe it's not funny tomorrow, or maybe this gets taken out of context. Well, I don't care, whatever.
Right.
You know, but as soon as there was a goal, as soon as I set a destination of where I was trying to go, then I can align all my actions in that direction.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what players are missing. There is no goal, there's no direction that they're trying to go.
Yeah. That was huge for you. I think, once you realized, look, my businesses are important, having a media company, all these things, was like, well, then everything you do, every action you take does that help you achieve your goal? If not, why are you doing it? And that was a big kind of turning point for you, I think.
Yeah. And like even watching you, Trevor, like how you've developed this new media, not just the company, but just like what you want to consume and everything like that. So when Rachel and I were at spring training at the Momentum House and you were looking at stuff, I was genuinely like, oh my God, I hope he likes it. Oh my God, I hope he likes it. Because I really admire what you look for as far as content goes, only because I'm a content producer. That's my entire job. And so I'm trying to make sure that I don't F anything up. So I guess like for me, because we're at a weird age where we lived at one point without cell phones. And as a point, like the younger players came out of the fetus with a cell phone, with an iPhone in their hand. So they know media so well. So how do we get on the good sides of the young players while the veterans are saying, just be careful with the media, but also you have this platform, you know how to use all of it. How do we find that balance to where everybody's happy?
Yeah, I think the authenticity is huge. Just as far as what content does well, it doesn't necessarily matter the quality of what it was filmed on or whatever. You know, it's just about people being people and drawing that connection between people that are fans and people that are players on a people-to-people basis. Mm-hmm. Connecting fans and players on a human level. That's what Momentum is designed to do. As far as gaining the trust and understanding, I think it's I think it's education. One, that's not really on the media to do that, but it's education. It's a culture shift that needs to happen where veterans aren't telling the young guys, hey, don't do this. They're saying, hey, if you're going to do this, do it this way. And then I think on the media side, understanding new technologies and staying current, and really trying to learn and understand what young people are consuming and what the new generations are looking for and where their interests are.
Yeah.
For instance, like no one really reads anymore. I mean, some people read, but young kids, 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds, a young kid in the big leagues, 22, 23 years old, he's not going and reading the local newspaper in the
I
morning.
stopped reading after law school.
Yeah, he's scrolling Instagram to get short little bites. He's looking at Twitter for 140 characters. He's on Snapchat watching stories, whatever it is. And so finding ways to engage on those platforms and do things that are, interesting on those platforms, because that's where the young people are. For instance, you can go and you can ask someone questions to write an article, right? But if you instead ask them, hey, we're going to do a 15-second video for my Snapchat story, we're going to do this. Players are like, oh yeah, I know Snapchat.
Right.
That's cool. I've never heard a reporter talk about Snapchat before. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Because you end up where they're at in the media space. And I think that's super important. But the vast majority of media members they don't try to learn. They don't try to do anything new. Certain reporters in Cleveland have been doing the exact same thing for 30, 40 years. And
well,
bashed heads with
MLB. MLB just decided to do something somewhat new, and you definitely poked the bear there.
I loved it. It was amazing.
Yeah, MLB Originals that we've been watching on Momentum for the last 2 years, and finally decided to try it ourselves.
Same with Mic'd Up.
Yeah. 2 years ago in spring training, we did the Mic'd Up video. Everybody loved it. They immediately shut us down, and then took them a year to figure out that, we should do that. And then they just did it all in spring training this year.
Listen, my mom and dad growing up told me that flattery is I'm already drunk. that imitation is flattery. Yes, thank you.
There's a lot of girls that follow me on Twitter that literally tweet the same shit that I do, and it's cute at first, but then it's like, fucking stop. Yeah.
No one's copying me yet on my Twitter game, but
you'll
day.
Get there. But and I did notice that you quote tweeted, and it was kind of a shot. You're like, interesting. It's like they're doing all the shit we told them to do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's exactly it. I've been having this conversation.
Shit, and people are eating chicken wings, and that's successful. It's like, let's hang out and like watch a game and talk about it and all this other stuff. And I feel like that's the stuff that people want to pay attention to.
People want to know that there's a human behind the jersey. I mean, you have the Yankees that don't even put, the name on the back of the jersey. It's, you are a Yankee. You're not, Brett Gardner. You're not Aaron Judge. You're just a player for the Yankees. And younger people, and this, I think the reality is, like, nowadays, you don't have players staying their whole careers with one team. And you don't have cities where, with social media, you can access, it's hard with baseball, but you can, in theory, access any team in any city, right? So you don't have to live there. So you can just, like, fans, and the NBA does it really well. Like, you want to be fans of LeBron James. You're not a fan. You're a fan of the Cavs when he's with the Cavs. You're a fan of the Lakers when he goes to Lakers, because you're a fan of LeBron. And like, because he has this personality, this persona. And that's the problem, is like, baseball doesn't have that.
Pop culture is huge there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm always like, what is he wearing?
Yeah.
All this other stuff. Like, fashion's huge. But I want to see if LeBron's wearing like those shorts. Or is he wearing a purse? Like, let's go. Like,
Merce.
I want all that. Merce. Yeah, all that stuff. And I want that to happen in MLB. It's just so hard to get there.
Yeah. And like, nowadays, if you're in LA, how can you, it's hard to even be a Dodger fan because you can't even access their games. Apparently all of Canada now. Oh, they can. But Canada now, all of Canada cannot access cannot view the one team that they have in Canada. Poor Canada. It should be.
So Joey Votto can't watch certain games?
No.
That's bullshit.
He can't cheer for his Blue Jays. Yeah.
That's bullshit. I'm upset.
But
I'm upset.
But so at least let them on social media like become fans of players.
Yeah.
And the only way
I
you
saw a
do
tweet
that is
today about. Oh, sorry. I saw a tweet today about the followership. You have 30 million NBA followers and 25 million NFL followers and 8 million MLB followers. So the levels are just so drastically different in the followership online. And it's that content strategy that we've been talking about.
Yeah. I mean,
I know engagement's up. Engagement is up. I did see that. I'm actually working on an article with that because I'm curious, but I don't know if it's because, and I think somebody brought up a good question. They don't know if fan engagement for MLB is up because this is around the time the season would start, or if it's absence makes the heart grow fonder type of deal, which is great for me. Like when baseball starts, people are going to give a shit about baseball all of a sudden. Like, where the fuck were you? Okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, but I think it's people are at home on their phones and they're consuming any sort of content. You know, they had NHL and they had NBA, and so it was kind of getting towards the end of that season, but they've recently had it. They haven't had baseball in X amount of months, and now they don't have it again, and there's no sports going on, and so they're at home, they're on their phones. And so I would guess that just engagement on social and all the sports leagues is up, just because people are on their phones during quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
But I would assume that baseball is probably up more because it's been the longest since it's been around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think Momentum's doing a really good job at, helping give players a personality, and, especially, I mean, it's cool to see some of the veteran guys buying in a little bit. Some are still a little hesitant, but I definitely think that, we've seen the younger guys embracing it. And I mean, they're a little hesitant. They're like, wait, can I do this? But the fact that it's like Trevor Bauer's an established player and he's saying, yeah, you can. Because I mean, they're used to it. The younger guys, they're like, they grew up with this. They're like, is this allowed? Right. And you have now a veteran, which congrats, you're now, I think, a veteran. That's a big moment, milestone moment for you.
I certainly feel old enough to be one.
Wait, how many years do you think consider is a veteran? It's like a discussion we had recently.
It's changed drastically because the league is getting younger and younger.
Right.
So I have 6 years ish, just less than 6 years. I guess we're getting service time this year, so I probably have full 6 years already. If you just go by the days that would have been.
You're a veteran at 6 years, 5 years.
Well, see, the average length of a big league career is 3.5, 4 years. Mm-hmm. And so I guess anything past average would make you a veteran. Generally speaking, it's the free agents would be considered veterans. Yeah. But it could be depending on the clubhouse too. If you have 24 guys that have 2 years and you have one guy that's got 3 years, then the 3-year guy is the veteran.
Yeah.
Right. And so as there's less and less older players, veteran age gets younger and younger.
Right.
You were, when you got to Cincinnati, you still had like 5 years of service, but you were clearly a veteran there.
Yeah.
Because it was a very young
towards the end of the time in Cleveland, like Mike Clevenger is a veteran in Cleveland, but he has, I think, 3-ish years. But just the team got so young so quickly because the older guys got more expensive. They got traded away. They weren't in the league anymore, whatever it was. And then Clev had been there for 2 or 3 years. He's obviously very good on the field so that he can lead from example. And then he's also just been there for longer than anybody else has on the pitching staff. So now he is the veteran on the pitching staff.
I think we've seen, definitely a trend that veterans are going.
You know who I struggled with was Archie Bradley. I covered him when he was literally a prospect, the biggest prospect in baseball. And I had my one-on-one with him in spring training. And I was looking at him, I was like, there's no way in hell you have at least 5 years in the league. He's like, yeah. I'm like, I'm not doing this. I had to leave. It was so weird because I just remember him as this baby prospect. And he was, of course, a prospect forever because of his service year and his exposure and stuff. And talking about to him with MLB Pipeline forever type of deal. So it was interesting type of situation, but I don't know. It was a really cool moment because he was, I watched him play and then I was a one-on-one and all that other stuff, but that was weird.
Yeah, I certainly don't feel like a veteran, but I look around in the clubhouse and I just look at the service times. And you got, Joey Votto, who's obviously been around for a long time. And then you start getting to who's the next guy with a lot of service time. You got Tucker Barnhart, who's been around. You go down the list. There's some guys that have been there. Last year you had Iglesias, and there's a couple guys.
Yeah.
But it's hard. You struggle to get 5 guys that have more service time. And I guess it's that moment when you realize, like, oh wait, like looking around the clubhouse and like, oh, I guess I'm a veteran now. I didn't feel it happen.
Now you're old. Yeah.
Yeah, now I'm old.
You're one of us, Trevor. And I'm glad you mentioned Joey Votto. I won't ask you about him because I don't want to have like 5 hours into it, but he's awesome. But thanks for stopping by to our podcast, Trevor. Really
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
And keep doing what you're doing with content.
Yeah, same to you. This has been fun. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Yep. All right. Have a good one, Trev.
See ya.
I knew that would be a good interview because I feel like I can ask him on so many different questions. I've never met that many players. Cheers. Also, he totally helped us out with the drinking game.
Annihilated us.
I can ask him questions. We can ask him questions on baseball and media, which are 2 of my favorite things.
Yeah.
And I think that's great. Heading into the interview, we asked about what we can geek out about, and you mentioned arbitration, which is really cool because covering it's the same thing. I'm just like, oh yeah, let's go. But the thing that I geek out about.
Yeah. What is Jessica Kleinschmidt geek out
Wait,
about?
what do you think I geek out about?
I know you love defense.
I do love
like defensive metrics, all of that, which I'm right there with you, sister.
I very much do. And I love defense so much. I feel like it's such an unappreciated part of the game, whether it's Hall of Fame.
Absolutely.
Like that. Like I had a really good conversation with Brandon Crawford about that. He looked at me when I mentioned the whole metrics thing and he was like, I like the eye test. I'm like, go on. Yeah. Like I loved it. But I really geek out actually about ballpark factors. And
okay.
So
I do too. I love ballpark factors.
Me too. And I think that had a lot to do since I did cover the Reno Aces. So you want to talk about, it's basically Coors Field.
Yeah.
So when I had to cover the pitchers, like having talked to Anthony Bonda, who just finished an outing against and I was told, I think I want to say Christian Walker or even, I can't remember what player told me that, but they said pitching actually might have been Archie Bradley. He said pitching at Greater Nevada Field, which is the Reno field, was worse than pitching at Coors. And imagine that. You don't think you can get worse than Coors.
I mean, that's a big statement.
It is a big statement. So you're thinking about that from somebody who's covering the game, you go on the defensive side and they're like, no, I don't want to talk to you. The offensive side, like, let's go. Let me tell you, I went 3 for 4. I hit 7 bombs. Let's go. And that was really cool for me. So when I was covering fantasy baseball, that's the cool part. I actually am published in a book talking about the defensive game or the ballpark factors. And the reason why I liked it is because it's the one sport that you can geek out about. NBA, you're inside. NFL, you're going to play no matter what. Mm-hmm. But MLB, you're like, how's the weather? How is the marine layer? How is, the batter versus pitcher thing? And how does he do at this field? And the way splits and stuff like that. I love that shit.
Yeah, because, I mean, you also have the fact that, some guy, if it has a short left, right, he just might be a hitter that really thrives in that area. And when when you're negotiating contracts too, it's the same thing though, because you want to find a ballpark and a team for your player where his home park, he's going to thrive. And you think about the fact that, the division he's playing in, you want, I mean, again, it can't be the, end all be all, but you think about the park factors of the different division or of that division. And, do they tend to be more favorable to your player or not? And that stuff matters, and it matters in the Hall of Fame. I mean, I think it's changing now, but we don't you know, it's hard for guys who play at Coors. I mean, look at Charlie Blackmon. Like, you know, he's a
Larry Walker.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you have Larry Walker. Yeah. But I think advanced stats are helping that, and you have ballpark factors now that are really helping. You know, they're helping us view it in a more, you know, objective kind of lens. But it's an interesting. It's definitely like, it's an interesting topic. And even the fact that when they leave that ballpark, because they're if that's their home park, right? They get accustomed to it. You know, even the elevation at Coors Field, when they leave, it's hard, you know, they have to, making that adjustment. People think that just because now that they're not playing at Coors, they should be hitting 1 million home runs, right? If they're a hitter or something, but, or they shouldn't be hitting them. But sometimes it's like that adjustment that makes it worse. I mean, the having to make that adjustment and then make the adjustment back to how they hit at Coors.
What's your favorite ballpark you've ever been to?
Ooh, I would say, I mean, people are going to say I'm biased, but definitely, is it Oracle now? I mean, AT&T.
100%, I'm right there with you.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Oracle Park.
Because I grew up a Giants fan. I'm from NorCal.
People, you kind of shaded me. You shaded me a little bit.
Why?
During spring training. You said that you were a Giants fan. You were kind of like,
yes, I'm the classy. So let me tell you, as a NorCal person growing up, so you have the classier, it tended, like there was this view that the classier fans rooted for the Giants and the 49ers, and the less classy fans rooted for, A's or Raiders.
Totally fine. So it's weird for me because people are always like, people bash on the Coliseum constantly, and that's fine.
It's like, horrible.
It's not.
That is my least favorite ballpark.
Yeah. So my favorite ballpark is Oracle, and it's just like so pretty. And even from like a media perspective, it's one of the few places where you can like look out on the field. But I did love Petco. I loved
Petco. So listen, Petco is up there for me. The Mariners, which is T-Mobile now, that one is up there. I'm a huge fan of Rogers Center in Toronto.
Okay, I've never been.
So many people like hate on it. They don't like the indoor. I don't know. I think it's amazing. You can see what is it? How do you say? I don't even. I'm going to sound so ignorant, not knowing the tower.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
Okay, so you're worse than me, but you can see it when you look up. It's right there. I think it's so cool. Kansas City. Kaufman,
I never went in, but the outside is gorgeous.
Kaufman is really cool. It's in the middle of nowhere though. So I
like those places though.
But you have to drop, like that's what I loved about Rogers Center was like you could stay, I mean, your hotel, you could literally walk across the street and it was there. You can, I mean, if you want to stay at a scary like place, you could stay right by Kaufman, but other than that, I don't think there's anything near. It's like in the middle of nowhere, right off the freeway.
What about places like hosted good memories? Because believe it or not, that's where the Coliseum is for me. So many memories, and I mean not just career memories, but like my first baseball MLB game. Oracle though hosted some cool memories too. Petco actually hosted some good memories, but I've only been to like 5 stadiums actually.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I think I have like
I'll travel with the guys.
I have like 7 more stadiums to go to, and I've been to all of them. But okay.
I do want to go to a Great American, and I'm not just being biased because I love Salgado. I heard opening day for the Reds is insane.
Yeah. Also, they have really comfortable seats. They're like cushioned. I don't know if it's just the family section.
But I also love the Midwest too.
Yeah. So that's like the Central is the one. That was the one area.
Midwest boy.
We'll work on that for you. Joey Votto?
No. So here's the thing. People love to think that I'm in love with him, but I'm not.
Oh, okay.
And he's just my hero. I genuinely want to be him when I grow up.
I heard an interview or I read something that when he's done with baseball, he wants to be a bus driver.
Yeah, that's true. And you know what's weird is he's my favorite because you want to talk about not trusting the media. At the very beginning, he hated talking to the media. but he's opened up a lot more. So that's the thing.
I love that. Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to start getting to some more ballparks. I'm trying to.
I definitely do.
I'm trying to cross them off, all of them off my list, but also Atlanta, by the way, the new ballpark.
Oh, Turner. Wait, SunTrust.
Incredible.
Yeah.
It has like a whole city around it. I will say though,
I love Atlanta. Love Atlanta.
That was actually, so when Bauer got traded, the first series that he met up with the Reds was in Atlanta. And so I went to that series, helped him do the move. But that ballpark.
We should get Peter Moylan on this pod too. He would totally do it.
Yeah. All right. Let's do it.
I like an Australian accent. That's bad.
I do too.
Right.
That was a horrible Australian accent. Yeah.
It's not great at all.
I'm
good at accents. I'm good at starting accents, but I can never finish them.
That's the key. I mean, that's the most important. You got to be able to finish.
I know, but you've seen I don't know. It's fine. Well,
I still love you.
We had our first podcast.
We did. I'm slightly tipsy, and
I need to call you
because I didn't drink or
your YouTube name,
Rachel. So yeah, fun fact. My
I want to call you Chalupa Batman though.
Okay, I mean you can. My name is Rachel Luba, and YouTube subtitles, when they just auto subtitle it, they write it as Ray Chalupa.
Rachel Luba.
So
and I'm so upset I never knew that.
I just somebody pointed it out to us, and the whole Momentum House has fully embraced it, and now my name is like Chalupa. But
I could almost cry because it makes me think when I fell in love with the show, The League. And
no, I know.
Chalupa Batman.
Chalupa. Yeah. I gave away the naming rights to my firstborn's middle name, and my youngest brother to him. By the way, and there's a contract. Okay. No, but there's a contract written and everything, and he's not messing around. So,
family lawyers. I get that. Yeah.
I'm the only lawyer in it.
But
yes. Oh yeah. But this was before law. This was I think I was in college at this point, because in my contracts class in law school, one of the first things.
No, that's smart. But what happened?
How I gave away my rights, the naming rights.
Yeah.
It's gonna sound bad, so sorry to my future child, but my youngest brother, he for prom, our high school does they put together an after prom so that kids don't go do something stupid, and it's this lavish thing at the Pebble Beach Resort, and they auction away Tiffany jewelry and probably a car. Yeah, and then there was a Coach bag. So
I'm so from Reno, I can't.
So Joey won a Coach bag, and I came home from college and I saw it and I was like, oh, can I have that? I assumed I can have that, right? My mom doesn't really like purses, she's very specific. So.
Right.
I'm the only girl, all brothers. He was like, well, no, I was like, what are you going to do with it? And he's like, well, I don't know. I could auction on eBay. And I was like, that's rude. I'm your sister and I want it. So why would you not just give that to me? He's like, I don't know. So he was like, fine. If I give this to you, what do I get in return? I was like, I don't know. What do you want? I was like, I'm not paying for it because you got it for free. And he's like, fine, I want the middle name naming rights to your firstborn. And at the time, I was just like, I really wanted this Coach purse. So I said, okay. And we wrote up a contract. And then in contract law class in law school, we got to the course or the topic of infancy, which is basically this theory that if you sign a contract underage, that it's technically void. Right? So the second that topic was brought up by my professor, I turned to my ex at the time and I look at him, and he knew the story from before, but I had told him probably months before that. And I turned to him and he literally just looks at me and goes, you cannot get out of your Coach and naming rights contract for whatever. He knew exactly what I was thinking when I heard. I was like, the second my professor said it, I was like, a light went off. I was like, maybe I can get out of my contract. my ex was like, no. Because it would only be because he wasn't, it's voidable, and because he's underage, he doesn't have to void it if he doesn't want. So either way, the way I can legally, by the way, get out of it is I would just have to give him the value of that purse. I would have to pay him the amount or give him a purse of that value, and then technically I can get out of it. But the way it relates back to Chalupa is because he's always like joked around and with the league and all that, how he wants to name. He's come up with, obviously he said Chalupa, but then also he just comes up with random sounds. He goes, I'm going to name your, like, it's going to be like Rura, like Jeff Rura something. And it's awful. And he's just looking forward to like their high school graduation where they call it the kid's name and he has to go across the stage.
Yeah.
And it's like that moment that he's living for. That he can emulate.
We should talk about baby names because I have a good thing on baby names.
Okay.
But we're going to wrap it up. But no, it's actually kind of funny because I have many stories about not only baby names, but I recently got catfished. And we're going to talk about that on the next episode because I feel like that's important. Because who has time to catfish during quarantine? Apparently somebody does.
A lot of, are you kidding? That's prime time to catfish.
I honestly am realizing that. And
but
it's fun.
It should make you feel better because anyone who catfishes someone is probably like pathetic. And I
literally work in media. What are you doing?
But they catfish people that are way above their league. So there you go. You should not be offended. You should be flattered.
Well, good first episode.
Yes. Cheers to that and to not saying players.
If you want to send in a suggestion for our wine word for next week, let us know. I'm excited to figure out who our next guest will be too, and that'll be fun.
Yes.
And we're going to dig into our DMs, so stay tuned to that too.
Yeah, maybe send us some. Please don't. We get enough already.
Peace.